Okay, so we cannot talk about importation without talking about quite a number of things. And so I will not just jump into talking about importation. Importation is quite very broad, and it's not something that a single person can do. I hope you understand. You can't have all of the expertise that is involved in importation. So I will be talking from the angle of an entrepreneur, from the perspective of an entrepreneur. And who is an entrepreneur? It's a person that creates business, taking financial risk for the purpose of making profit. Basically, that's who an entrepreneur is. So we will be looking at importation from the perspective of an entrepreneur who wants to create a business, to make profit. So I do not necessarily have to know all that is involved, because there are people who know what to do, and I can simply engage their services to do what I want to do, basically. But before I go into that, I would like to talk about entrepreneurship a little. And there is something, I read a book some years ago written by Michael Gerber. The title of the book is Entrepreneurial Myth. MYTH, the entrepreneurial myth, or the E-myth rather. And what is a myth? A myth is a belief that is false. We all believe it, but in actual sense, it is a false. So, what is that falsehood about entrepreneurship? Because if I ask every one of us here, we all want to become an entrepreneur. Yes or no? Everybody wants to become a business owner. You want to be on your own. You want to do your thing. And those thoughts are born out of the urge for freedom. Basically. For instance, you work in an organization and you don't feel treated well, and you do all of the jobs. You'll be like, what am I doing here? If I start my own self, I go do well. Abi? And you want to be free. And two things would influence that thought or that decision. The urge for, a free time, to have freedom for yourself, and financial freedom as well. You look at what you bring to the table. You know how much you make for the company. And then you look at how much you are being paid, and you are like, if I do this thing myself, I'm going to make better money now. So you want to be free. Praise the Lord. So, but there is a myth that is attached to that, because we only look at the freedom that entrepreneurship will bring. We look at the benefits, but we do not realize that there are lots of things that are attached to being on your own. And let me digress a little. There is a book that is called The Cash Flow Quadrant. It's written by Robert Kiyosaki, the man that wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. You must have heard about Rich Dad Poor Dad. He wrote The Cash Flow Quadrant. And it says that there are 4 ways that you can make money in life. That money can flow to you. And the first quadrant is to have a job, right? To be working for an organization, to be employed. And the second quadrant is to be a job owner. There's a difference between being a job owner and a business owner. I hope we know that. So most of what we look at as business is not actually a business. They are what you call a job, that you say you are self-employed. It is not necessarily a business. The fact that you own it does not make it a business. It is still a job. You know why? Because without you, that business cannot run. If you sell food, if you are not there, who will sell for you? If you are a barber, if you are not at the shop, who will barb? But a business is any entity that can survive with or without the owner. So you must be able to move from the position of a job owner to a business owner. So you must design a system in such a way that the job or the business can survive without you. And so that takes us to the third quadrant, which is the business quadrant. And then the final quadrant is like a square. And then the final quadrant is investment. You invest your money in businesses that are established. You buy stocks, you buy treasury bills, you buy, government treasury bills. Every day you hear about government as proposed treasury bill of so billion. You can buy into it. Some are 6 months maturity, some are a year maturity, and they pay good dividends, and they are very secured. You understand? So that is, you can invest in real estate. You can invest in a lot of things. So your investment, your money is there. You are asleep, and your money is working for you. You just see, you say, that man, be like say, that man are 419. They come off for us, but they change car every year. He's not a ritualist, neither is he a fraudster. But he has invested and he's having returns. So that is the highest level. Thank you, sir. That is the highest level of cash flow that can come to you. So now, back to entrepreneurship. Now, if talking about the meat that is attached to entrepreneurship, if you work with an organization and you feel you are not being taken care of the way you should, and then you want to move out. So I'll make reference to the example that Michael Gaba made. So you are a baker, a baker, somebody who makes pastries, bread, and all of that. And so you work with, for instance, a fast food, Abi, and the reason why people are coming to that place is because they sell tasty pastries, nice bread, nice whatever that is sold there. And then you feel like, now because they do this thing well, and I make these customers they come. But my Ogano, they appreciate me. She know they pay me well. Do you understand? And then you feel like, let me just leave this thing and go and open my own. You understand? And then, which is a very brilliant idea. And then you decide. You rent a shop. You set it up. You spend some money. Clean it. Looking nice. And of course, you are a good baker. People will buy. You understand? So, for food, it's about what will grow your customer base is if it is nice and if it is affordable. So, of course, when people come around and they see, this thing is nice, so they will bring other people because it's nice. Now, within 3 months, this baker got frustrated. Within 3 months of setting up the business, she got frustrated. You know why? She just wanted to be a baker. All she wanted to be was a baker. She didn't know that owning a business is beyond being a technician. A technician is anybody that does anything with their hands. You understand? So generally. So a baker is also a technician. So she didn't know that a business is beyond just being a baker. And why did she get overwhelmed? She realized that she had to wake up very early in the morning to clean her shop. She realized that after the close of business, she needed to balance the books. She realized that she had to prepare for the other day, go to the market, buy stuff, buy everything. She realized that she had to attend to customers. She had to make them happy. She had to tell them to sit appropriately. She had to do a whole lot of things which she was not doing. She was just at the back end making, meat pie and all of that. As a professional baker. And so, her day became messed up. In the morning, she has to clean the shop. A customer will come and say, madam, why this place never set up like this now? What is this? She had to go through all of that trouble on a daily basis. And then she realized that, man, business is not for me. And that's why you see a lot of people, after opening a business, within a few months, they close down and they are looking for a job again. Because it goes beyond just being good at what you do. And let me mention that there's a misconception. People will say anything you want to do, you must make sure you have passion for it. It's a lie in business. It's a big lie in business. No. It's a big lie. And I'll tell you why it's a big lie. I'll give you a small story. I live in one small village in Ota. Small village. So, when we moved in, it was still very, very local. And so for you to buy cooking gas, you have to go, to a very far distance. And during COVID, it was even tough. So I was home and I was like, what can I do? I like business. I've done quite a number of business. So I looked around, no gas. And as a professional in the field, I said, okay, let me set up a small gas business. The first customer that walked up to me, do you know what the customer told me? The customer that will bring money, she looked at me and said, sir, God bless you for doing this thing. You know what? I am meeting a need. And she saw it as, you have taken away our trouble. The trouble of having to go outside. And I felt impressed that I could identify a need and solve problems. So what am I trying to say? It doesn't matter whether you love the business you want to do. It is about the need in that circumference, within that demography. Is that thing you want to do going to meet the need of people? I could have just said, as a big boy now, let me open a boutique, put clothes there. I beg, who go buy them for inside bush? Do you understand? And that is the problem that a lot of us have. We just want to do things that trend. I want to sell clothes online. It's very fantastic. But you need to check the list of the people on your phone. You need to check your contact list and see if you post those things online, if your space, the people within your space are the kind of people that thing will catch their attention. Because why do you post something on your WhatsApp when you have people like me and you say you are selling Brazilian air? I'm not going to buy now. Do you understand? So, and you say, okay, let me come back to my own story. My wife doesn't like, or she didn't like the business. So because it was COVID, I was home. I was managing it and, I was selling. So after COVID, now everybody had to return to work. Okay, madam, they do this thing now. The thing suffer. Because she wanted to sell online. She wanted to do all those things. I look at him and say, hey God, I don't want trouble. So I employed somebody. Those ones, if you carry 50 kg cylinder, they can tell you it's 37 they sold from it. Because the woman who is supposed to be monitoring is inside the house. Okay, so long story short, within that my area now, I can count how many people that are now doing the business. Because you have, it was supposed to be a blue ocean. You know what a blue ocean is? There's something you call a red ocean. A red ocean is you have a business and a lot of people are doing it. So you are all juggling for little share of the market. But when I started, it was a blue ocean. There was nobody. But now it's a red ocean. And now there is competition, price competition. And I'll tell madam, let me, because me, I don't do plenty things. I said, see, on one cylinder, you can actually make 5,000 within 2 days. But this thing where you do like this, money not there. But, over time, there was a learning. And last week, there's scarcity of gas. So there's the platform I am in where the big place where we go to buy. So they share the prices. And I saw it. I said, see, madam, they now have gas in this place. So my wife drove down to the plant. She was there for like 6 hours. Yeah? Say, madam, I didn't tell her. Wow, this woman now, she don't learn. You can do the other stuff, But the things that really bring the money is the thing that people need. So despite the competition, you can still sell. And in business, you must, I'll be saying a lot of things. You must try to investigate. You must make findings if you really want to make profit. When I started, I was not making anything on a cylinder. You know why? Where I was buying from a place where they sell to end users. But further findings, I realized that there is a place you won't even know it existed, where they sell to retailers. So it was until I got there that I was beginning to make margin. Now, where she buys her own, because she feels that place is quite far, which is true, there is a 250 naira difference on a kilogram. And everybody within, even the people who are big skid, they sell 1,700, they sell 1,006. But she went to that place and bought for 1,000 naira. So when you had all the logistics, I told her you can sell 1.5, and before you know it, this thing will finish. And then she came home. People around were selling 1.8, she's selling 1.5. People don't come and shop. Are you getting it? So your business may not thrive if you are not patronizing the right source, because you find out that you are not able to compete in terms of pricing, and you will be selling the same thing. And then you'll be like, madam, this amount that they sell for that place now. Why is your own like this? So now, that is about the myth that can be involved in entrepreneurship. If you do not prepare your mind for the task that is ahead of you, and the stress and the, mental torture, I call it mental torture, that comes with starting a business, you may just fade out. You may get tired along the line. Now, is it that all of those tasks that the baker had to go through was enormous? The answer is no. It was not enormous, but because she was not psychologically prepared for them, they were coming randomly. So again, if you are going to start a business, you need to identify all of the roles in that business and consciously decide which of those roles you will play part time. So you need to look at, okay, in the morning, I'm going to be a cleaner. So in the first 30 minutes, I'm going to clean. And after cleaning, this is the next thing, I'm going to be a baker. Okay, after being a baker, I'm going to be, a waiter or the service person. So you know that within this hour and that hour, this is what you're going to do. So those activities will not overlap and they will not weigh you down because you are psychologically prepared to handle them. And at night, you have to balance your book. And that's what a lot of people do not like to do. When I ask my wife, I like to ask questions. If you say, I need this money, I'll say, you need to tell me what you want to use it for. That end does not count. Let us know what you want to do with the money. Let's write it out. Let us calculate it. Let us know the return on investment. Am I lying, sir? It's very, very, very correct. So, once you are able to convince me, I don't have problem. Even if I don't have that money that time, I will look for it. But if you don't tell me, if you don't want to give me, don't give me. I don't want to give you before now. So our mommies, you understand? So when a man is asking, tell me, explain. Before, you need to know your husband anyway, or your spouse. The kind of things the person would do. So you should know the questions he will ask ahead. So when he's asking, you are giving him the answer. It's not like he doesn't like you. Of course he does. And as a child too, you need to know the questions your parents will ask you. If my son asks me for anything, I will ask him to explain. If you cannot explain, you will not get it. Yes. If I buy him a shoe and I see that I didn't use that shoe well, I will not complain. I don't have strength. But you will come back and say, Daddy, I need a shoe. I say, when did you get the other one? Go and be using it. So when you see that your leg that you are using to match the ground, you understand, then you will learn how to keep things. So what am I trying to say? Diligence in business is very, very important. And you must be able to track your records. A lot of times, people spend their capital without knowing. And again, my wife does that. You know, there are fine shoes, there are fine hair, there are fine jewelries. But as a business owner, you cannot afford to buy everything. And that's why I like the Igbo brothers. Clap for the Igbos in the house. You see, before an Igbo man, we buy a car of 5 million, he has 20 million. Igbos like to show off. They like to show off. But they are not going to show off with their capital. The capital they've invested. I don't know, maybe some few ones who did not actually labor for the money, who got it through other means. You understand? But an Igbo man that is a businessman, you know, see, business can be learned. But God blessed the Igbos with business wisdom. And they passed it from person to person. Am I right? Now, in Yoruba land, where I'm from, if an elder brother has a business, and then his younger brother is staying with him to learn that business, in the house, the younger brother is a king. The wife cannot tell him to go and wash plates. You will expect the wife to serve him food and clear the table. If the woman does anything, he will call his mom and say, "Mommy, can you imagine what wife is saying?" And the mama too will call and say, "Hey, what is your problem? Don't you know he's also your husband?" But I've studied the Hebrews. If a younger brother is serving his elder brother in the house, the guy walks like a servant. He's not a servant. The same respect he gives to his elder brother, he gives to the wife. It's just for that moment. And if you are diligent, if you honor the woman, you will find a way into the man's heart. And that is why you find out that lineage continues. That trend continues. You see, an Igbo man, he brings somebody from the village, he trains him, he sets him up, and then the business continues. He transfers that knowledge. It's not written. That knowledge, that business knowledge is not written. But, you know, it's imbibed. They just do it, and then it works. Do you understand? But if you are not gifted, then you need to learn. And somebody said, training is less expensive than mistakes. So a lot of times, before you go into a business, you need to learn. You need to learn about the business. You need to get trained. You need to understand what that business is about. If it's going to take you money to learn, to attend seminars and all of that, you need to do that ahead of time. It's going to limit your chance of making mistakes. Me, I learned through the hard way. I've done a lot of things. I've done agriculture. I've raised birds. I used to have close to 1,000 birds, layers. And I'll tell you how I messed it up. I like figures and I like to save money. And of course, in business, you want to do three things. You want to save more money, you want to make more money, and you want to spend less. Three things. You want to make more money, you want to save more money, and you want to spend less. So, in an attempt to spend less and make more money, this is what happened. My birds were already doing fine. In fact, they had attained 80% production rate. 80% means I had about 1,000. I was already getting close with 800 eggs per day. But I was feeding them with ready-made feed, top feed, which was quite expensive. I think they were taking about 1 bag per day. So I had a friend who studied agriculture in school. We attended the same secondary school. But he studied agriculture. And then he told me, you can be milling your food now. You can be milling this feed. And if you mill it, you make so money. So when he told me, I calculated, I'll be saving like, I say about 30,000 in a month or thereabout. I said, good. Let's go and mill. I went, I milled. And of course I was working. So I was not there to monitor. I had somebody working there. So what did I do? I withdrew the top feed and introduced the one I milled myself. Not knowing that those birds were not, when I say birds, I'm talking about chicken. They were not feeding, they were not eating that food. And for birds to lay, they need to eat well. They need weight to be able to lay. They stopped eating. They became very light. I didn't know. I just noticed that the production started crashing. And we came down to about 10%. Before I knew it, everything was gone. What was I supposed to do? I was supposed to start with 80% of what I was giving them, 20% of the one we were milling, and then I'll begin to withdraw it gradually until we get to that stage where they will be fully used to that kind of meal. The same thing for other businesses. You are buying from somewhere and somebody comes to you and says, if you go buy for this place, ridiculously low amount. I say, okay, I'm going to try them now. And then you release your money and your money is gone. Without doing proper investigation, is that source actually real or not? But is that money that you are going to save that entices you, and then you go ahead and that's the end. So it is very important that we get our hacks right before we take a leap in business. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot of problem. I wanted to do what's it called? Business center. I bought computers. I never get shop. I never get location. I sold those computers one after the other. I sold them one after the other. Now, that is my own story. But as an importer and exporter, merchandise. Okay, so now what am I trying to say? In 2017, I resigned. I resigned from my place of work. I said I was no longer interested. Actually, I wanted to join another company. But you know, God speaks to us. God speaks to us. And if I was to, in fact, that year, I resigned on my birthday. It was on a Monday, September 11. But the Friday that preceded that Monday, I slept and I had a dream. And in the dream, okay, when I woke up from the dream, you know, when God just wants to help you, it helps you. And when I woke up, it was like something spoke in my ears. And told me, you will resign, but you will not leave. So it was easy for me to resign, and it was also easy for me to stay back. So when the persuasion came, it was easy for me to change my mind to stay back. And of course, there was an adjustment done to my salary. And then I became fine. And I've grown through the ladder, and by the grace of God, I am now a manager in my place of work. Now, I'm not saying that to impress you, but I'm just trying to give you a background of some of the things that I need to pass across. And I worked for 17 years. I started off as a senior staff anyway, so not from the lowest level. But I can tell you that far from being a rich man, I'm not a rich man, I'm on the street, I am a hustler. I am hustling. But God has helped me to a larger extent. But I can tell you that the things I can point to, major things that I can point to that I've done in my life, were not done through the proceeds from my paid employment. And that's the message that I want to pass across. And that talks about personal development. It talks about being fearless. Job chapter 32 verse 8, it says there's a spirit in man. The breath of the Lord giveth it understanding. Now, when the breath of the Lord gives you that understanding and you refuse to activate it, it's going to be dormant and you will make nothing out of it. So, outside of my job, I do engineering jobs. I do jobs for hospitals. I do jobs for organizations, for companies. In fact, in my car now, there's a cylinder inside. There's a gas cylinder. When I spoke with IK this morning, this was not the clothes I wore from the house. If you are familiar with globe spin along that express, one of my guys is there now. We are trying to commission a system, and it's there. We are working today. What am I trying to say? I had to go through sweat. When I was a plant engineer, if I run money and I close in the evening, I won't go home. I will go to a company that I need to work for them. I will be there over the night and I will resume money the following day. I mortgage my salary. If you ask me for money, I don't give people my salary. Like if you are looking at the date, 28, they go don't pay salary. If you look date for me, I don't give people my salary. I cannot promise because you know why? I don't mortgage them. I don't even get salary. That's the point. So if you are looking at the date, salary go come, na lie. I don't have salary to give you because I've mortgaged it. It's not coming. It's no longer my money. I've spent it ahead. Now, what am I trying to say? In order to survive, I had to go through some pains. I will not go home. When others have gone home to sleep, me, I will not go home. Those days, I was not doing those things because I wanted to make money, but I wanted to learn as a young engineer. And after learning, after going through those phases, I came to a point where I can now do things to make money for myself. I was at a plant, an oxygen plant, and that plant was brought in for like 3 years, and it was there. They couldn't run it. I studied control and instrumentation, and I started off my career doing that. One way or the other, they got to know me, and I went to that place. And when I got there in the evening, after closing from work, there was this Indian man, elderly. He was the one that put the plant together. But all the control systems were not working. The man that owned the plant was the one that told me this later. He said when I walked in, the Indian man looked at him. I was quite much younger and lenge like me. He said he looked at me and said, this one cannot do anything. And to God be the glory, that night was the first day they produced oxygen. It was the first day. And when I configured all of the systems and it began to work, the man stood up and came to the screen and looked at Baba and said, Baba, it's working. What am I trying to say? You cannot afford to do what other people do and expect to live above how they live. You must do something extra for you to survive. Thank you. And by the way, IK, by the end of September, I resigned again. And this time I'm going. I'm leaving. And I'm done. And I'll tell you why. My dream is actually to stop working at the age of 40. And I clocked 40 last year. And I'm 41 already. Now, it was difficult for me to take the decision. Of course, you know why. You look at a lot of things. How will you survive? But God is faithful anyway. And there's no perfect time to actually take a bold decision. You will always have something to draw you back. But if God wants to help you take a decision, He will bring something up. And then, in December, they refused to pay my salary. They said I did one thing, which I felt was a slap on my face. Because it was really not my fault that I didn't do. Okay, what did I not do? Performance appraisal. And proud to that moment, I had written to the HR, copied my line manager to say that I don't have a job description. I'm not just maintenance planning manager. I'm customer engineering services / maintenance planning manager. So I think it's quite difficult to come up with a job description. And I said, if you don't give me a job description, how will I do performance appraisal? How will I bring out the performance indicators? And then they went ahead and not paid me salary. I said, okay, no problem. I resigned. So God helped me by bringing up that situation so that I'll be able to take the decision to resign that I struggled to take. And based on my grade, I need to give 3-month notice. So by the end of this year, I'm going to be off. And I tell you, if I had not done some things, if I had not put some things in place, that decision, I will not be able to take it. Because of course I have kids and I have a mother, and I have people that depend on me. So I cannot just take a rash decision. I have to consider them. But I know that they cannot be hungry by the special grace of God. And I know that it can only get better. And for 2 weeks, they did not pay me. And I was almost going to be broke in the first week of October. God is wonderful. And when He wants to justify your decision, He will show you some things. That week, somebody has been looking for my number. Then he came across another person who both of them do not know that each of them knew me. Do you understand? So I don't know the conversation that ensued between them. And then this one said, I have his number. And then they called me. I said, we need to be at a particular place tomorrow to go and check a job. And I went there. And I did the estimate. And that same night, they paid. And then I had a meeting we had a project meeting online. And our HR was saying something. I called her out. She didn't know why I was calling her out. I said, I go survive. I no go die. So what am I trying to say is there's nothing called luck in life. And that's why some people have tried to define luck as opportunity meeting preparedness. So you can only say you are lucky if you are prepared for an opportunity. So if an opportunity comes your way and you are not prepared to maximize it, it goes. So you can only enjoy the benefit of luck if you are prepared for opportunities that are ahead of you. And so again, you must be prepared. You must do everything to make sure that when opportunities come your way, you are able to maximize that opportunity. I don't know. I don't know if I'm passing any information to us. Okay, so you are an entrepreneur and you want to do a lot of things. So let's now talk briefly about importation. What must you import? Will you import everything that every other person is importing? The biggest money I've made in my life is through importation, and I've supported projects. Like I said, I'm a project-based person, and the hospital, Osun State Teaching Hospital, I'm not the direct person, but the person that got the job did all the importation through me for the medical gas piping system, the oxygen plant, the medical air plant, the vacuum plant, the anesthetic gas scavenging system, everything. I did all the importation from UK and delivered it to site. Ebonyi State Teaching Hospital, when Umai, the present Minister for Works, was the governor, he made sure that he built that hospital, an edifice. I did all the importation for the medical gas pipeline system. That's just big ones out of many. And if I were afraid, I will not do it. If I go pay money to Onibo accounts and a fraudsters, what thing will happen? If you don't fall, you cannot rise. And only somebody who has fallen will say, I have risen. If you didn't fall, how will you say you've risen? So again, you must be strong at heart. But again, you don't just want to make unnecessary mistake. Because they say experience is the best teacher, but it's a lie. Experience can be the worst teacher. Do you know why? If you are the one that went through the experience, it's not going to be nice. Because you will have gone through the loss. But experience is only going to be the best teacher if you learn from other person's experience. So this person has made this mistake, and this is what happened. So you will learn from that person's experience, and you will not make a similar mistake. And that is when it's going to be a good experience to you. But if you have to go through the process of the mistake, it's never, because you may never come out of it. You may never come out of it. So before I did all of that, I did my due diligence. I made sure that I found out everything about the company, and try to call people from over there to say, okay, investigate these companies, how genuine are they? And I did not start by buying the big thing. I started by buying the little things that I know, even if they don't bring the item, I know go fit die. Nobody go pursue me. So I imported for myself first. and I confirmed their genuinity before I did the big things. So exactly the same way in business, you don't go in by putting all your body inside the water first. You go first put one leg, deep, okay. Before you go now jump inside and be sure that okay, the water not deep. Praise the Lord. Okay, so importation. So the first thing you need to find out, I'm just going to try to run through the stages of importation. The first thing is to understand what you want to import. I mean, why will you import something that nobody's going to buy? Have you? So meaning that you must establish a customer base before you decide to go ahead and import. Now, it doesn't mean that those people are ready to buy at that point in time, but you know that there is a market for whatever you want to import, first off. Again, my Igbo brothers, Swali, God has blessed the Igbos and will continue to bless them. God has blessed every tribe anyway. It's just that you have to identify the area of strength that God has blessed you with. And that makes sense. So you need to identify what you need to import. I'll tell us two things. And I'm not saying go and do that. Two things. Sugar, and palm oil. And I'll give you some few information about those two things. Do you know that Nigeria consumes about between 1.4 to 1.8 million metric tons of sugar annually? 1.4 to 1.8 million metric tons. What that means, a ton is 1,000 kg. 1,000 kilo. Our mothers, you know, when you go to buy frozen food, they say 1 kilo. Now, that's 1 kilo of sugar in 1.8 billion times. Because 1.4 million times 1,000 gives you 1.4 billion kg or 1.4 million metric tons. That is the amount of sugar that Nigeria consumes annually. But it will shock you to know that Nigeria only produces 40,000 metric tons out of 1.4 million metric tons. How do we get the rest? We import them. So it means if you have sugar, you cannot complain that you are not able to sell it. I don't know if you are getting my point. Because we are not even producing, in fact, we are producing just 4% of what we consume. The rest, 96%, is imported. And that has been the trend from 1990. You can go and Google it. And we spend over $200 million annually importing sugar. Now, what do they import? They don't import the refined sugar. They import cane sugar, what you call cane sugar, which is the raw one. And so when you have the likes of Dangote sugar, you have Boa sugar, those are the two major players. What they do is they'll bring in this raw sugar and process it. So it's a chain. You have to look at which aspect of the value chain you want to come into. Do you want to bring in cane sugar and sell to the people that need it to process? Or you want to bring in the refined ones and sell to people around that want to go and resell? So it's a chain. Or you don't even want to do, because it's not just about importation, it's about identifying business opportunities. Or you even want to go and plant, you want to have a sugarcane plantation. It's about information. Sugarcane plantation. You plant it. And the truth is, no government, whether in Nigeria or anywhere in the world, will do policies that will suffocate agriculture. Never. Every government is always talking about food sovereignty. So, in fact, they will always subsidize everything that is needed to ensure that agriculture thrives. So, you can look at sugar and say, sugar, is that so? Nobody is looking at it. Palm oil. You think all the oil you eat is in Nigeria? It's a lie. We bring in close to 400,000 metric tons of raw palm oil from Malaysia, from Indonesia, and from what is it called? I'll remember the country. But two major countries, from Malaysia and one other from Cote d'Ivoire. From Malaysia and from Cote d'Ivoire. Then a little from Indonesia. And I heard a story, I don't know when that happened, that Malaysia took that seed from Nigeria to do the plantation. So it may shock you when you say you are eating vegetable oil. Do you know from where vegetable oil is made from? That's Ororo. Do you know where it's made from? Yes, it's made from groundnut. It's made from all of these. But do you know that groundnut oil is a product of palm oil? Do you know? It's the same thing. So when you go to PZ, you know PZ? If you go to PZ in Ikorodu, that's where they make King's Oil, Mamador, and all of that. Mamador is a higher refined oil to King's Oil. King's Oil inside that, what is the color now? That yellow cake is not as refined as the one in the transparent bottle. The one in the transparent bottle is the same quality as Mamador. So when they buy palm oil, they take it through the process of refining. And then they keep it, they let it drip for days. And then you have that oil. It's actually made from palm kernel. So if you have a drum of palm oil today, a tanker load of palm oil, don't go and sell it to people that want to eat it. And that is why you find out that the two are always competing. The price of palm oil and groundnut oil, they are always on the rise together. If they are falling together because it's the same source. Where are the people on the farms? PZ has their plantation in Calabar. That's where they have their palm kernel plantation. But it's not even up to 5% of what they require. My uncle retired from Adax Petroleum as a director. And what he does today is palm oil. It produces palm oil and sells to PZ. Sells to Dufil. You know Dufil? Those are the guys that make, what's the name of this oil? The people that make Indomie, they also make oil. Yes, sir. They are in Ota. They also make oil. And then he sells in tankers. Now he's making more money than he made when he was a director in Adax Petroleum. But you don't want your body to be stained. So what you want to sell, everybody wants to sell is clothes. Now if everybody is selling clothes, who will buy the clothes? If everybody is selling jewelries, where will you make the money to even buy the jewelries? But there are some things that on a daily basis, people will ask you for what you are selling. As far as you do it well, people will ask you for what you are selling. Nigeria spends over $600 million importing crude palm oil annually. That is about 900 billion naira annually. And many of us are not even taking any share out of that. You know, in Nigeria, we don't think about business. We only do what every other person is doing. I told you about my area. Everybody now sells gas. POS now. You know, before they will make shakara for you. If you enter market now, POS, everybody. Do you understand? It is good because business has to get to the point of competition so that the consumer will have options. But you have to look beyond what everybody is doing and try to identify what you need to do that a lot of people are not doing. I talked about blue ocean. Every business started off as a blue ocean. Every red ocean business started off as a blue ocean. And I'll go to Dufil again, the people that make Indomie. They were the first in Nigeria to start production of Indomie. And today, how many companies do you have? Many. You have Chiki Chiki, you have Honeywell, you have Dangote, you have Golden Penny. Quite a number. But it started off as a blue ocean. So when they came into Nigeria, they looked at We were importing it into the country before, but now it's produced locally. And it doesn't matter what anybody says about Indomie, we go chop them. Abisa, we go chop them. He said, they cause this one. We go chop them now. You just put a lot of water, let it be moisty, don't make it dry. If it's dry, it's not safe. So make it moisty. You go chop them. That's one they used to call. There's this new language about Indomie. There's this statement that trends about Indomie. Say na garnish Indomie. I forgot the name. I'm an old man now. But there's this, the way they, like ladies now. If any lady knows how to cook any food, she must have to cook Indomie. Sir? Those kind of one. If a lady does not know how to cook any food, she must know how to cook Indomie. The one that cannot cook Indomie, let me not say it's finished. Praise the Lord. So again, you need to identify what you need to bring into the country and check for the channels through which you need to bring them. Again, not every product you can bring into the country. So you need to check with the government to see, is this product prohibited? Is it allowed for importation? Can it be brought into the country? So that it's not when it comes into Nigeria, they will say they don't seize my container. They don't just seize containers. It's because you are not aware that that product needs some special permit. For instance, carbide. These people that do welding, panel beaters, you see that their gas they use in welding. They will drop one thing inside water. That thing is carbide. That thing is used for making explosives. They used to make bomb. So there's a restriction on it. So you now want to sell it, and it's fast selling. You say, this is business, a better business, and then you want to start bringing in carbide. If you bring it into Nigeria, you will pay, you will do everything. When it comes to Nigeria, they will seize it. Because ahead, you must have requested and gotten a permit to import, and you will state the quantity you want to bring in. In fact, you will get an approval from the office of the NSA, National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, or any other person that is going to be. So if you don't know and you just bring it in, they will say you don't bring in contraband, and then your goods are seized. And a lot like that. So you need to find out what is the regulation over that product. Again, you need to know if you bring it in, if you will be competitive. And I'll tell you why. Every product is categorized. And there's something we call the HS code, Harmonized System Code. So if you are bringing in any product, you have to know the category and know what is the tariff that will be charged on that product. They vary from product to product. Some can be as high as 40%, some can be as low as 10% or 5%, depending on the categorization. Especially those products that we know, that Nigerians know they have capacity to do. To discourage importation and encourage local manufacture, they will deliberately place huge tariff on it. So if you are bringing it in, you need to find out how much is being sold locally and what is going to be your own landing cost when you bring it in. So because you can see the price abroad and say, it's just $1. But by the time you come to Nigeria, government is telling you to come and pay $5. And by the time you do your calculation, you see that this thing don't pass putting the sell. So that's one. So you must find out all of those information before you go ahead. So number 2 is to research the markets and the suppliers. Who are the people that produce these things? And what is the best channel to bring it in? So if you are bringing just one piece of phone, don't go and buy it directly from the manufacturer. It may be cheaper, but the landing cost will be higher. I'll tell you why. If you bring it in through the manufacturer, the direct manufacturer, first off, you have to pay them through the bank. You have to do a transfer. And if you are paying just $1 through the bank, just $1, you will pay a minimum of 66,000 as the transfer charge. Minimum of 66,000, just $1. And if you are paying millions of dollars, it is the same amount. So if you are buying just one phone and already you have paid that 66,000, and then the cost of bringing one phone by air, because the value of the item is also going to be considered, because it's a fragile item, it cannot be placed where there are heavy items. So it has to be placed in a separate position. So that special attention that is given to it will make the cost of freight to be higher. Number 2. So what do? You look for platforms. You have Alibaba. Have you heard of Alibaba? You've heard of Alibaba. So when you go through Alibaba, you can search for the item. Sometimes they even have free shipping. So you want to buy just one. They will bring it in groupage. They will bring it in through a forwarder that has a lot of items to bring. So at the end of the day, maybe it's just $1 or $2 that your shipping will be. And when you are making payment, thank God, LMA what's his name? Emefiele is gone. Now you can use your Naira card to do online transactions. You can use it to pay for overseas, depending on the amount anyway. So if you paid with your card through an online store, you will not be paying that huge bank charge. So you can actually minimize what you are paying as a charge. So at the end of the day, you may find out that you would make some savings if you identify the right channel. And some of those channels are also they are well protected. And if you have any issues, there's a channel from which you can actually send back what you have bought if it doesn't meet your standard. I heard that Temu sometimes is what you order versus what you get to. You say you want to buy a bicycle, when they bring and come, not toy. So of course, again, when they say come and buy bicycle, and they say it's $10, you should ask yourself now, big bike, cycle, $10. When they bring a plastic, it could be now. Yes. Because you need to be sure that this price they are giving you, is it the same? And you need to read through very well. You need to go to the description of that item. Sometimes you want to buy Samsung, Kinikon. What they're advertising is the casing. Yes. And they will give you one ridiculous price. Until you go to the description, that's when they will tell you, this is what they are, but it is the phone that they will display. Where is the casing? When they bring it, me, I don't buy scarf before. Scarf, head tie. Yes. You know what I wanted to buy? Timberland. Yes, Timberland. The shoe, that big one. I wanted to be using to go to sites. And then I saw the price. They say from maybe $1,000, are there how many dollars, to whether $20 that is promo. Scarf. I went to pick it at what is it called? This post office at Oshodi. When I got there, when the woman was bringing out the thing and the thing was flat, I'm like, hey, shame me down over. Scarf is what they brought for me. I don't think I can reach ourselves. When I got back to the office, I said I wanted to go and pick something at the opposite. When I got back to the office, I don't know if he talks, I collect. Praise the Lord. So now, again, know the import regulations of your country. So you have to visit the customs authority website or speak with a licensed customs broker. So you need to learn about the import duties and the taxes. You need to learn about the prohibited or restricted goods and their requirements, like I've mentioned earlier. So you need to have all of this information for major importations. You need to know all of that. Then again, if you are importing and you want to make payment, you can have a lot of issues. And that's where expertise will come in. Because you need to get what we call Form M. And Form M is actually simply explanation is declaration of import. You want to declare what you want to import. So if you are declaring that import, already before you pay at all, government is charging you some amount. So me, I don't go through Form M. I don't use Form M. I've never used Form M. I pay service charge, maintenance charge with the amount, and my payment will go. I still paid about $3,000 some weeks ago. So in fact, a lot of organizations, that's what they do. if they are not making, if the item is not huge, you will pay it as a service charge. Because if you pay it as service charge, it's not a goods. But the most important thing is that the company receives payment. So when it is a service, because it's a charge, it's a service that you are paying for. It's not declaration. We are not importing. Are you getting it? So the payment will go, and the manufacturer will receive payment, and then they will process your goods. So the only thing that you pay for is the clearing charge, the duty, when it arrives in Nigeria. So again, these are some of the things that you would learn as you make progress. And then you now have to choose the right shipping method. I'm rounding up. Thank you. So you have to choose the right shipping method, and you have to look at, okay, this item I'm bringing, is it big? Does it have to go through sea, or it has to come by air? Of course, by sea is always cheaper. But if it's an SOS, when I say SOS, if you need that goods very urgently, you cannot go by sea. But of course, it depends on the size anyway. But if it's something that you know you need urgently, it has to come by air. You will not mind how much you are going to pay. Because minimum, if you are coming from Europe is a minimum of 30 days by sea. Asia is 45 to 60 days. Whereas if you are talking by air, in fact, if DHL picks your item any part of the world, within 5 days, it's already in Nigeria. And within 2 days, you can have your clearing and have your goods delivered. Whereas if you go by sea, aside from the number of days that your goods will spend on transit, when it gets to Nigeria, all our ports are congested, number one. Number two, if it is a groupage means you are not the owner of the container. You have to wait until the real owner of the container pays the clearing charge before they will open the container. And no, it has to go through what they call PAR, pre-assessment report. So when they've done the pre-assessment can take 2 weeks. So when they've done the pre-assessment, the man will pay. After he has paid, you will now wait for the congestion inside port. For them to bring it out, it can take like a month. So sometimes it's always very frustrating. So you have to determine, you have to, know how urgent, the urgency that is attached to whatever you want to bring. So, and that also speaks to you planning your importation. To say, okay, I can bring it in, it's going to cover this period, and when it comes, it's going to meet the right time, the right timing. So you can plan your importation by way of knowing how long it's going to take. And then some documentations that you need to put in place, so that it's not when it comes that customer will begin to ask you for A, B, C, and D. So you must get all your documents right. In fact, these days, when immediately your goods is taken to any of the freight forwarder, they will write to you and ask you to send the invoice. So that immediately it comes, the processing is done, and doesn't take more than 24 hours or at most 48 hours for the clearing to be done. And so when it comes, you pay your duties, and then the goods are delivered to your site. And then when you receive your goods, you can begin to make your sales. And to God be the glory. We will draw the curtain here. And thank you for having me. God bless you.
Hallelujah. Please, this will be the first time we'll be doing this. So normally please, before that, please can we celebrate again, Engineer Dovamdele. All right. So it is not entertaining but informative. So it's something for the mature mind. So, and I want to believe we'll have an audio recording so that we can go home and for some points, some well-detailed point we missed, we can refresh on it and ponder on it, all right? So we still have just little time to take just probably 5 questions. Because probably throughout, maybe during the section, there are some things you didn't get correctly. It's an opportunity to ask. So I'll take numbers, If you have any question for our guest speaker today, please signify so that I can just book you down. Any question in the house? 1, 2. Not when we start asking questions. You remember you have one question now. 1, 2. Just 2 questions, right? I think we're good to go. 2. Okay. So, sir, your question, sir. Please, we need another mic, please. Can we have another mic here?
Praise God. My question starts with like this. When you were talking about groupage and the cost and all that, my question is the Asia importation and the Europe importation, are they the same clearance? Because at times when you put at Europe, they will tell you it is personal, because some countries were restricted from the importation or sending goods because they were having some visa issues. And the Asia, if you look at the system of Asia, does the groupage pays than the personnel? And equally, how can you get the rightful information that we get to the company?
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so for the purpose of people who are hearing groupage simply means that you want to bring in your item and you cannot take the full container. So you add it to other people's goods and then it's coming in a single container. But there's always a major owner of the container that has the larger part of the goods that are coming. Now, whether it is Asia or it's coming from Europe, what is most important is the category of the goods. I talked about HS code. That is harmonized system code. So when the goods arrive, because it's going to carry different invoices, each person has his own invoice. So when the container is opened up and then the goods are brought out, each of the goods will go through separate screening to know where each of those goods belong in terms of the category. So it is the category of your goods that will determine what your clearing charge will be. I don't know if you are getting my point. Now, again, when I started, I said something about you are an importer, you are an entrepreneur. You cannot do everything by yourself. And that is why you need to engage the service of people who know the system. So you have freight forwarders who that is their business. And I'll give us an instance. We are having a project presently in the office. We are bringing in a plant from India. The main manufacturer is from US, but the plant is made in India. Now, the tariff on the entire plant is 5% because it's for manufacturing. Now, ahead, we had grouped all the plants to have tanks, pressurized vessels. But do you know that the HS code for tank is 40% tariff? So ahead, if you had not included those tanks on the entire letter of credit to say, okay, we are bringing in a plant and it's going to comprise all of this, because the plants will not come at the same time. They are coming in beats. So the tanks, 6 pieces, came in beats. In fact, they came as break bulk. Break bulk means it's not going to be inside a container. It's not going to be placed on the ship floor because of the size. It cannot go into a container. Now, when it came, Customs said the HS code for the tank is 40%. And that we had to pay. In fact, we are charged about 700 million. Now, each of the tank is about 14 tons. And the height is about 10 meters. So, we, as a company, do not have the expertise to wiggle our way around. But you have freight forwarders who have done that over time, who know who and who to meet. And to say, no, this thing is not like this. You can begin to write all the letters. Nobody will answer you. You will say, go and pay the 40%. So, but the freight forwarder had to do all of the process, and he charged 30 million. But which one will you take? To pay 700 million or to pay 30 million? So sometimes, if you want to do it by yourself, you do not have all. As an importer, as an entrepreneur, you cannot be going to the port to sit down every day. But you have people who know every office and who know what to do per time to be sure that this thing, this is how it's going to go. And it is also important that you come out clear and you come out open to whoever is going to help you undo your clearing. To say, this is the item I'm bringing, so that you'll be able to advise you ahead of time to say, these are the processes you need to go through. It is not until it has arrived in Nigeria then you begin to run around. So again, what will determine difference in cost is where it's coming from. Of course, from Europe, it's going to be cheaper because it's just 30 days. US is even less. But the freight cost from China is going to be more. But the goods will be cheaper. Even from when you are choosing the containers to use, different shipping lines have different prices. So it starts from there again. Because, okay, I said I paid about $3,000. The manufacturer gave me, the cost that they gave me for the shipping is more than the item. They gave me $2,950 as the shipping cost. Then I spoke to a forwarder in Nigeria and said, this is the item. I gave him all the information. He checked. He said I should send the data sheet, the safety data sheet. I sent it to him. He gave me $1,000. The $1,000 is inclusive of freight and clearing. I don't know if you understand, sir. But the manufacturer gave me $2,050 to pay for bringing the goods alone. I will still come to Nigeria and pay duty. And the duty is going to be charged on the cost of item and the cost of freight. Exactly. So, I don't know if I answered your question, sir.
A round of applause for him, please. All right, so before I take the second one, which will be the last one, I also have one. I'm not asking this question for my own sake. I'm asking the question for the benefit of everybody. Sir, when it comes to financial management importation, is prayer all we need? Because, yes, prayer. Because we have Christians that believe so much in prayer. So is prayer all we need to further sustain our businesses, to further grow our businesses? Thank you, sir.
That's a very dicey question, and it's very spiritual. You know, many years ago, I learned that, I think it was said by Kenneth Hagin. I read a book written by Kenneth Hagin, and he said something. He said, God will not do for you what you ought to do for yourself. You will not. What you need to do for yourself, God will not do it for you. Because God is not your servant. God can do all things, but he will not do some things. For instance, this speaker, I want to carry it from here to that place. And then I begin to kabash. God, move this speaker to that place. God not going to answer you now. Abi, he will not answer you. What will you pray for? You pray for strength, Abi, to be able to carry it. And in fact, do you even need to pray that God will help you carry this speaker? Abi, I will call Brother Ike, please give me a hand. Let's carry this speaker to that place. So again, yes, prayer is very important. But we should not turn to, we should not push all our responsibilities to God. Again, we must also believe that it is God. Deuteronomy, the Bible says in the book of Deuteronomy, it says, remember the Lord your God, for it is he that giveth thee power to make wealth. So you can pray that God should help you, and God will bring about connections. He will open doors for you. But you must also have, like I said, you must also be prepared to maximize those opportunities. So you must walk to banks. I need a credit. And they will tell you, okay, you need this and that. You must be ready to provide all of those documentations. You won't go back to your house and say, bank, no, give me loan. Do you understand? Because the bank is not a charity organization. So they want to be protected. A lot of Nigerians, we are terrible. Somebody go collect bank money. Before, Zenith Bank, if your GT, all of those people, if your salary account is with them, they will give you salary advance like 100,000. But somebody wants to collect the money, you will go meet in your office. No, pay my salary to that account again. And then it stopped. So you understand. So God will do his part, but we must also do our part. So it's not all about God. Let's not push everything to God. Whatever is our part, we do it. Thank you.
A round of applause for him, please. Hallelujah. So, I believe say we don't hear. Hallelujah. So let's have the last question, sir.
Praise Master Jesus. Hallelujah. Yeah, Mr. Engineer Idoba Midele, I appreciate your talk this morning. In the course of your speech, you made mention about importation. And you said something about Form A. No, though I'm not an importer yet, but I stay around the importers. So I had a discussion. There was a day they were making an argument based on that. So that Form A, I want to know something about it. He said it's a description of goods, declaration that you want to put plastic, you want to pull iron, you have to declare it. I know the best. I know about it. Now, he said you pay if you describe the description on that Form A. I mean, they will charge you according to those items. Now, what about if you are bringing a whole container, not a group page? And in that Form A, you have to declare all those items. Maybe not one item you are importing. Then you say there is a place how you pay it. You pay service charge instead of paying the writing. If you are importing full container of different description of items, do you need to pay service charge or do you need to pay according to that?
Thank you, sir. Again, you must bring in your ingenuity into everything you do. Okay, I am an engineer by training, and I've gone through a lot of problems. When plant breaks down, it can come in different ways, and so you must wear your thinking cap. You must always think to find the best way to approach every problem. Now, when you want to make payment, there are several kinds of payment processes. I can travel to China and make my payments there. China has WeChat. You know, sir, for people that trade with China, I have a WeChat account. You can make payment through WeChat. I did a consultation for a Chinese firm, and they were to pay me $900. And they were saying, how are we going to send this money? They were giving me plenty story. I just remember, I can bring you some things now. I told them, pay to this company. And then they told, share your WeChat accounts. They shared each other's WeChat account, and then they paid. Now, there are people, importers in Nigeria. I know of a guy who does importation. He brings in container. He travels to China. He has a WeChat. If you want to make such payment, if you send all the money to him, you will pay it. It's collaboration. You cannot do everything by yourself. So if you find out that this process, because that is why you will say, Chukudi, they sell in fridge for 20,000. And you say, even when this thing land at 30,000, I want to sell them 20,000. I'm not saying you have to cut corners. I'm not saying you should evade tax. Because whether you like it or not, when the items come, you will pay. But as a starter, as a beginner, you have to look for ease of doing business. And so you have to look for people who have established processes who will help you do those payments. But of course, you must also establish their genuineness so you don't fall into the wrong hands. So, but the established process is to go through Form A. And when you get to the bank will give you the form. You will fill everything because you have an invoice. Do you understand? So you will submit that invoice. You don't need to list all the items. So the invoice will state all the items that are going to be in the container. And it will be submitted on the platform. There's a way the whole thing will be done. And then you'll be advised on how much you are supposed to pay. Because it's a processing fee. The bank will collect their own and all of that. Now, the essence of all of this is so that when the items come, you will not have issues clearing it. But if you go through a forwarder to clear your goods, whether you process from M or not, when the thing comes, they will do everything. They will do everything. So those plants that I mentioned, when they came in container. And they came by sea. I mean, I did not pay any form. I did not go through any from them. In fact, I did not pay to them directly. I paid the man that is going to do the clearing. I paid him, then he helped me to pay. Because then I was just starting out. And then he made the payment. He charged me how much he was going to pay. He was going to collect for the shipment and the clearing and all of that. And I paid, and the thing came. And it was done. So, again, as a starter, you would make some monetary sacrifices. And what I mean by monetary sacrifice, like when I ask him to pay, for instance, let's say exchange rate is 1,005. He will tell you he's going to collect 1,650. 150 naira on $1. If you are going to pay $10,000, you know how much that is going to be. But because you are starting off and you don't understand the process very well, you have to make that sacrifice. Whereas if you go and pay by yourself, you are only going to pay 66,000 naira charge, bank charge. Are you seeing the difference? So, but you have to learn stage by stage before you get to the point where you also know that, okay, I've established myself, I know all of the process, I know how to make my payments. If you travel to China, you have all the means, you can make your payment there. They will help you do the WeChat account. Your money, you will credit your WeChat account using your passport, international passport. You do all of that. And once you create the account, you can make your payment. Thank you, sir.
All right.